David Hume was one of Enlightenment Scotland's greatest philosophers, although in more recent years there is some debate about whether he was involved in the slave trade, and this has undoubtedly tarnished his reputation. Hume was born on 26th April Old Julian Calendar, or 7th May New Gregorian Calendar, 1711 in Edinburgh, to Joseph Hume, spelt Home, but pronounced Hume, of Churnside near Duns in Berwickshire, an advocate, and his wife Catherine Faulkner. Hume died shortly after David's second birthday, so Catherine was left to bring up their two sons, John, born 1709, and David, and their infant daughter, Catherine. She was a kindly woman, but in later life had no idea what her son was talking about. She was quoted as saying, "Our Davy is a fine good-natured cratur, but uncommon wake-minded." Hume changed the spelling of his name from Home in 1734, as it wasn't well known in England and often mispronounced. In 1723, the 12-year-old Hume enrolled at the University of Edinburgh. Initially, he thought of studying law and following his father's footsteps, but he found it tedious. In his own words, he said he had an insurmountable aversion to everything but the pursuits of philosophy and general learning. Instead, he had a passion for literature, which has been the ruling passion of my life and a great source of my enjoyments. He never graduated from the university. At 18, he was dissatisfied with the state of contemporary philosophy, so he spent the next 10 years writing A Treatise of Human Nature, which was published in 1739, 1740. In this treatise he wrote, "All knowledge degenerates into probability." Throughout those years, he'd suffered from various ailments, and it was suspected he'd had a nervous breakdown, and due to his poor diet, he also suffered from scurvy. He took bitters and antihysteric pills, downing them with a pint of claret a day. He took more exercise and his health improved, but in 1731 his appetite became ravenous and he suffered palpitations. Due to eating so much, this once tall, lean and raw-boned man became obese, and he became well known for it. He also enjoyed copious amounts of port and cheeses. At the age of 25, he found work as a merchant's assistant, but had to leave Scotland, spending some time in France. His treatise, which studied human behaviour, was largely ignored when it was published. He'd thought it would have changed modern philosophical thinking almost immediately, but it wasn't to be. Disappointed, he turned his hand to writing essays in the 1740s on political, moral and philosophical matters. In his writings, he wanted men and women to escape the accepted ideology and adapt to the changes happening in the new commercialised society that was taking hold. These essays were favourably received and soon made me entirely forget my former disappointment. In 1753, Hume, having written his essay on national characters 5 years previously, added a footnote. He wrote that he suspected not only black people, but in general all other species of men, to be naturally inferior to the whites, a notion that was widely held at the time. Between 1754 and 1763, possibly Hume's greatest work took shape, that being the history of England, but not one that concentrated on the struggles of liberty, but rather on kings and government and the barriers they faced from ambitious princes or nobles, the interference of religious fanatics and bishops trying to interfere in government. He believed nothing was more surprising than the easiness in which the many are governed by the few. He felt the country had been ambushed by the Hanoverians, who'd taken power following the death of the last Stuart monarch, Queen Anne, and he felt uncomfortable with the influence of patronages. But it was with religion he had the real beef. Although brought up as a strict Presbyterian, he'd lost his faith at university, as no one could give him a good reason for the existence of God. He found that religion distorted the understanding of human nature and believed that it was by trial and error that humans could make a decision that would be useful. He believed there was no such thing as absolute or eternal knowledge, as knowledge was acquired throughout a lifetime. He wanted to loosen the control of the church and its superstitions, and to treat them as being as real as unicorns. He believed that if God wanted to prevent evil but cannot, then he is not omnipotent. If he can prevent evil but does not, then he is not good. In either case, he is not God. In 1757, he published 4 dissertations, including Of a Standard of Taste. This looked at the philosophy of art and suggested standardizing it rather than it being subjective. However, he noted that personal temperament and local opinions would always be a factor. Taste, or finding beauty in something, was a delicate matter, and although he advocated correct taste was based in the classics, in the end the essay doesn't conclude what taste should be. He believed beauty in things exists in the mind which contemplates them. His works made him a wealthy man. Adam Smith, the economist, once said he owed much of what he believed to Hume. However, the irony wasn't lost. Hume became a diplomat and a political secretary for a time in France. He also became a patron of Scottish learning and spent a lot of time circulating in debates in the taverns in Enlightenment, Edinburgh. Outside of work, Hume was a good cook, knew a lot about wines, was a good host, and was excellent company. He was outgoing, and his intellect was razor sharp. In the last months of his life, Hume wrote his life story, in which he admitted he loved the fame that came to him. Hume died in Edinburgh on 25th August 1776. A few weeks before he died, James Boswell, the diarist, visited him. He was dying of abdominal cancer, but his mind was still sharp. During their discussions, Hume told Boswell that he believed it was a most unreasonable fancy that there was life after death. He said it was possible to put a coal on the fire and for it not to burn, and that it was a most unreasonable fancy that we should exist forever. Boswell also wrote that by this time Hume was lean, ghastly, and quite of an earthy appearance. He was dressed in a suit of grey cloth with white buttons and a kind of scratch wig. He was quite different from the plump figure which he used to present. He was buried in the notable mausoleum designed by Robert Adam at the old Carlton Cemetery in the city. Hume is remembered in various ways, including at Churnside, and there is a statue of him outside the High Court in Edinburgh. However, the University of Edinburgh has since renamed David Hume Tower to 40 George Square, following the 2020 debate on slavery and its impact on Scotland. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.